welcome to my first official video on Be Beautiful, Be You, BBY. Today I discuss a somewhat can be difficult issue to talk about, can be a controversial kind of issue to talk about, but nevertheless I think it should be discussed. Today I discuss the topic of virginity. Virginity to a lot of people is a special sacred thing. Whether you're religious or non-religious, virginity is a huge thing and it does have a lot of meaning. And a lot of people sometimes think it doesn't until they lose it, and then they realize that it actually does, and it can actually affect them later on in life. However, that's not what I will be talking about today. Today, in one respect, I'll be focusing on stereotyping and perspectives when it comes to virginity. There are many different ways to lose your virginity. Not all are the same. And there should be no shame in any way that you choose to lose it. Whether it is a religious aspect or a moral thing that is personalized to you, or whether it just be something that just happens. I wouldn't say there's no right way to lose it, because if I was to say that, it would be dishonest of me, and I'll explain to you why. It comes down to perspectives again. For me, and how I lost my virginity, it wasn't lost the way that we deserve to have ours lost. So a lot of people think like, they stereotype people, you hear it all the time, specifically stereotyping and judging women. I always find it so pathetic that it's always the women that are the target for these things. They'll use horrible language to tear other women down. My virginity, for instance, was not, it was taken away from me. I didn't give my virginity freely. I was abused as a child in many different ways. One of them is sexual, and I did lose my virginity, technically lost my virginity to my father. So this is what I mean by not everything is as black and white as you may think it actually is. There are aspects of grey. So, a lot of people, they judge and they stereotype, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I haven't been, guilty of using judgment in the past, not to this extent, but in other things. So, but that's unfortunate way of life. We are only human after all. But virginity isn't it's a special thing to quite a number of people, and some people have a choice in it and some don't. And I think it's important to recognize that not everyone has the same story, not everyone has the same rights. People say, especially people who are religious, they quite often, go, oh, without me even explaining my story, they're like, oh, you've had sexual relations before you're married. I go, yes. They go, oh, okay. And in that moment, I know what they're thinking, but they don't know me or my story because they haven't had the chance to acknowledge it. And while it's absolutely true that it's not people just who are religion based, many people will have their own biases, but it is a common aspect within all different types of religions because that is simply sacred to them, and that's fine if it's sacred to them, that's fine. But what's not fine is to pass judgment on for your own beliefs to another person, and especially when you don't even take the time to acknowledge or understand what that person's story is. Child abuse happens more than people realize, and I am one example of that. And I just think that it's important to address that there are different types of judgment when it comes to virginity. Like, how you choose to lose your virginity, ultimately, if you do have a choice, is up to you and you alone. It's your body. I am one for it's your body, it's your choice, because it simply is your body. And it is your choice. Or it should be your choice. As I said before, we don't all get the choice. But if you do have the choice, then it's your body and you can do whatever you want with it. And nobody should be able to tell you, what you can and cannot do. And especially when you reach the age of adulthood, for people who try and tell you what to do, try and tell you who to be, what to act as, that's not up to them. It's up to you and you alone. People should not be this way, but unfortunately they are. And I think that this is, one of the things that we have to be conscious about. We have to be conscious about it because if we're not, who will be? What kind of future are we setting? One that only consists in judgment and ridicule. That's not the kind of future I want to be living in. And even though it's how I was raised and brought up, I chose a different path because that's what I can do. I have the power to change my destiny and perspectives. If it were up to how I was brought up, I would be so much different than what I am today. I was brought up in a racist, homophobic household with a lot of opinions and judgments that were not mine. But I chose to constantly fight back against those judgments, and opinions, which I didn't start to do until I got older. So probably around mid-teens, because I felt stronger, like I could speak back at that age, even though when I first started to speak back and continuously did, I got in more trouble for it. But that's like society in a way, isn't it? Like, we get in trouble for voicing our values, especially the ones that are honest and without hate. And I just find it kind of sad, you know, especially the ones that are without hate. Those sorts of opinions get judged more harshly than the harsh opinions. So what I'm trying to express to you guys is that when it comes to things like this, it's your body, it's your choice. Male, female, what have you. It is up to you. Don't let others pressure you. Don't let others try and sway your judgment or your heart. Don't let them pressure you into giving away your virginity, but also don't let others pressure you into not giving it away either. It is up to you. You know when you'll feel ready enough. Trust me, you'll know. For me personally, even though I recognize that my virginity was taken as a child, I also recognize the fact that it's so important to realize that for me, my first time wasn't with my dad, even though it was. My first time is how I choose to see it. My virginity was taken the day that I was with my first real boyfriend. And that's the way I saw it, because then it was my choice. As a child, that wasn't my choice. So even though my virginity was taken as a child, I still, in my own heart and mind, had that sense of, if you want, a psychological sense of, okay, yes, that happened, but in my heart, it wasn't, you know, given. It was taken. And so my virginity was given to my partner at the time, who at the time I did love. And it wasn't the best experience, but at least that experience was mine and mine alone to decide. So I just want to share that message and tell you a bit about my story as well within it, because I think sometimes we can give people facts, but if you try to explain your story or a bit about yourself, sometimes it can make it a bit easier for people to understand where you're coming from. And I hope that does this for you guys now. Okay. Thank you for watching my first proper video on Be Beautiful, Be You, baby. Okay, until next time, you are beautiful, you're strong, you're brave, you're bright, clever, smart. Hang in there.